Maddie, thanks so much for taking time out your busy Olympic schedule to join us. You are looking good, my friend. That is a wild hairstyle you're sporting.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I feel like in quarantine in COVID times, we've all gone through some changes, so I had to represent those physically as well.
Well, listen, we saw you on the screen when you had a US scrimmage recently, and I honestly thought you picked up about 50 pounds. You looked bulkier and stronger, more intimidating. How long has it been since the last haircut?
So the haircut, it's going on about a year now. So I used to get it done before every tour. So yeah, look good, play good, all that. But I got it done before Sydney and Hamilton last year. Didn't get my haircut before LA, which turned into a bit of a regret when suddenly everything shut down. And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what? The world's out of control. I'm just gonna symbolically relinquish control in my appearance a bit to myself and just let it go and have some fun with it.
I think it's so great. Look, the advice I'll give you as an older person with less hair is that you can't always grow it that long. So do it while you can, my friend.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. My girlfriend turned to me one day, and was like, "You kind of look like Jon Snow," which is that was a pretty flattering comparison. So it's a bit of a change, and I've been enjoying it.
And listen, let's touch on this. So you've left the snow. You're wearing the Free Jacks kit. What is life like in sunny San Diego?
I mean, it's certainly different. It's you walk out the door and it's 55 degrees, and you're like, "Oh, it's so cold here. What's happening?" So it's certainly different than the East Coast, and we enjoy it. And I think for training purposes, it's pretty incredible that you can run out, and I think it's just you get warm in about 30 seconds and you feel ready to go. Versus, I remember some of those freezing cold practices on the AstroTurf at Dartmouth, and you'd be like 45 minutes into a session thinking, "Oh, my hamstring feels a bit tight still," and that's definitely different challenges, but it makes it pretty ideal for training.
It does. Okay, well, let's cut back to obviously last year we know it was terrible for every single person, but we're not competing in the Olympic Games or preparing for at least for opportunity of a lifetime. So tell us a bit about you personally and your side. What is the mindset like in the training as you're building towards Tokyo last year and then being part of 2021?
Yeah, I mean, I think last year was definitely a challenge. I think we're all building towards the Olympics, thinking, okay, we had this huge event coming up that we've been preparing for really years. And then suddenly everything got shut down. I mean, I remember I think I was visiting my girlfriend and I was there and she was actually a little sick, and I was texting our physio, our trainer, Brian Green. I was like, hey, I'm not sure I should come back. Like, I'm hearing all these whisperings about COVID, and like, obviously I don't want to expose the rest of the squad. And I think it was a day later and we got the message, hey, no one's coming back for a bit. Like, everything, the training center shut down. We obviously already at that point, they'd canceled Hong Kong and Singapore. But we really had no idea how much it would just take over everything. And then we were sitting there, and I think at that point they gave us 3 or 4 weeks off of training. And my girlfriend and I were sitting in our studio apartment at Stanford where she's doing a PhD. And we were like, I don't know if we want to sit here on our own for months on end, which is what it was starting to look like. And so at that point, we like kind of masked up, did everything we could, and we flew across to Massachusetts, where my family are. And we ended up being on there on the East Coast for about 6 months, which was a big challenge. I mean, like, I think at the beginning, it was everything just felt so forlorn. Like, wow, like everything that I thought was going to happen is now completely off and a bit aimless. And like, what am I building towards? But it's like we're quite regimented. Like, I'm aiming for this tournament, I'm aiming for that tournament, and suddenly when everything was ripped away, it was you're very much forced internally. Okay, what am I doing here? What am I building towards? What am I trying to do? But after kind of a couple of weeks, I got into a pretty good routine out there. I had a field I could go to run. I was lucky, like I could work out with my siblings, and my girlfriend, and my dad, and my mom. So I think that definitely helped that I had that environment, and it was able to allow me to stay in good shape and doing everything I needed to do. And then we got into September, and we were like, after a few false starts, we'd had, okay, I think we're aiming for July. Now we're aiming for August, and now actually you're back September. And once we were to get into that September was in itself a challenge because we all came back, but then we had these testing protocols that we had to go through, and we actually weren't allowed to interact with each other. And even though like one training session a day we were running 6 feet apart in straight lines, and it was just kind of like, what is going on here? Like, what are we doing? Like, I felt like I was in a better place before, and like, are we actually going to be able to evolve this, or like, are we going to do this for 2 weeks? And then suddenly you're like, okay, actually everything's gone again. And obviously, like, everyone is going through so many challenges, and like, to be able to have the luxuries that I had, I felt really lucky. But at the same time, like, I'm living my experience, and it was challenging. But then in October we were able to get back into training, And that was a huge relief, I think, for everyone. That for us, at least, it was a lot of normality, in that we were able to have 2 training sessions a day. We were working out together, and we still have a lot of protocols in place that are supposed to minimize anything. But it was good to be able to get back into that. And then as times goes on, as you said, we were able to do the scrimmages, which like that was the first time in 8 months we've been actually able to play proper rugby. So it felt so good to be able to do that. And hopefully now we're on the swing. Like we're talking about going to Spain in a couple of weeks, which if we are able to do that would be absolutely incredible. At this point, I think it's hard to look too far in advance because things change every day, but just so hopeful that we're going to be able to do that and play against some other teams and have some fun with it.
Yeah, Maddie, you spot on about just taking a day at a time, right? Because things are changing, consistently. Let's go back to your New England roots, though, because this is pretty interesting. Obviously, a lot of people hear your accent; they think you're from, a small little pub in England somewhere. But you actually have strong New England roots. Tell us more.
Yeah, so my mum is from Massachusetts, and she's one of 6. So I have lots of cousins and aunts and uncles, and they're all pretty much in New England. We got one group who went down to Virginia Beach, but for the most part, it's in Massachusetts, Connecticut. So yeah, I've always grown up. We would spend about 2 months every summer for my whole life visiting my mum and my mum's family in Massachusetts. And those were always like the best times of my life. Like the whole year, we'd always look forward to that and getting to spend some times with family there. So it was always amazing. And I think for me, that really bred a desire to come and live in the States. And that's really where it stemmed from. It is that family time I got and how close I felt to all my American family. And then, I mean, they all like, I don't know, forced is too strong a word, but like those New England sports teams have a place deep in my heart. Like I'd be waking up at 12:05 in England after like 2 hours of sleep to listen to the Red Sox games. And I remember like we would watch the Patriots playoff games on tape delay, and we'd be going for like days at a time because obviously we were quite young for some of the early ones, and we wouldn't be allowed to stay up too late. So we'd be trying to watch them for like 3 or 4 days, like a quarter at a time without finding out the score. And that was always just such fond memories. And I think really made me have a strong bond with the area. And then obviously I went to college there at Dartmouth, had such an incredible 4 years. And so I definitely feel like New England is home for me in many ways. Like I've spent a lot of time now here in California, but like whenever I can and I'm able to, like it's going back and spending time with family there in Massachusetts. And yeah, I mean, such strong bonds with the guys at Dartmouth too. And yeah, it's a special place for me.
Yeah, let's talk about Dartmouth. You represented them, as you said, superbly, in fact, particularly, when you guys carved up, the US in the sevens world, but you worked very closely with our CEO, Alex Magleby. Tell us a bit about the influence he had on your career and the character that is Mags.
Yeah, I mean, Mags played such a huge part of my journey and such part in, I'd say, my growth as a person. Like, I think when I got to Dartmouth, I was an 18-year-old kid who didn't really know much about, who probably thought he knew more than he did about the world of rugby and how I could develop. But I think Mags really helped me see like how I could develop as a player and what I needed to do to be the best version of myself that could go on to have success at the level that I'm kind of now having. Yeah, I mean, I think like I was a pretty good rugby player in England, but the way that I was developing, I think, wasn't suited to the top level. Like I was a 5'8" wing with average speed. And I think Mags helped me see that the success I could have was a lot about being able to kind of create with different players and interact with different players. And it wasn't just going to be about my speed and my footwork and things like that, but about the playmaking element. And I mean, at Dartmouth, the class that I entered with, we had 2 guys, like including myself, that had ever played rugby before. So much of my role was about interacting with different guys and being like, okay, I'm at fullback and you need to do that over there and you need to do that over there. And if I was able to kind of, not that they're puppets in any way, I'm putting down their talents too much there, but just like pull the strings that would then enable them to put their athletic ability and use that to the best effect. And I think that was a big skill that I was able to develop at Dartmouth, was kind of that playmaking ability, that ability to influence the players around me and put them in the positions to succeed. And I was also so lucky that when I arrived at Dartmouth, the senior class there was really quite special. I mean, Nate Brakeley is the one who's gone on to have the most success afterwards, but likes of Derek Fish, Paul Jarvis, and some other really talented rugby players, but also some fantastic leaders. And I think I was able to come in that environment and really able to focus on myself. And they would set an incredible example and really kind of taught me what I needed to do to succeed. And I mean, it was looking at Nate, and we'd play a really tough game on a Saturday, and then I'd wake up maybe slightly hungover on a Sunday morning, and I'd have missed an email from Nate from 3 hours ago saying, "Hey guys, I'm up and I'm going to go run some stadiums right now if anyone wants to join me." And I think the effect that had on 18-year-old Madison, I was like, oh wow, like if the best players on the team, the leaders of the team, are willing to kind of sustain that work ethic and be that committed, then that really has such an impact on the rest of the team. And I think that's something that I've tried to kind of embody and live up to as I've gone on in my journey.
Yeah, wonderful journey you had and wonderful background there at Dartmouth. Now let's bounce across the globe to the amazing Sevens World Series. All right. So you've been there since 2013. You're currently number 6 on the all-time points scored list with 1,510. That's almost 1,500 more points than I scored for the Eagles. But that aside, Matty, truly a remarkable achievement. You're still going, obviously. What would you list as your, favorite moment so far in the series? I know that's a tough one because you've done so much so far.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. I made my debut in 2014 in Wellington in 2014, but it is just crazy. I mean, I remember coming onto my first stop and I was so wide-eyed, like I was just trying to take everything in. And then I went to Hong Kong and Tokyo, and I was actually going back to Dartmouth after that. And I remember when I walked off the field in Hong Kong being like, okay, I need to make sure I look around, take everything in, because like, who knows, I may never get to play again. And to be here all these years later, still playing, it really does blow my mind. I mean, 6th on the World Series, like, it's just like kind of crazy. Like I grew up going to World Series events, and to be anywhere near any of those lists is just kind of mind blowing to me. Like, I don't know, like I do some things pretty well, but the people on those lists and the people I've played against over the years are just such remarkable athletes and players that it's incredible to be there. Favorite memories, I mean, London in 2015 was amazing. I think for us, it was really the culmination of that season. We've been getting better and better, and we've been saying to ourselves, okay, on our day, we can beat anyone. We can be a tournament winner. But to have that breakthrough and actually do it was so special. And London was the tournament I went to that year after year when I was growing up. So, and to be there, to have my family in the crowd, to have friends there as well, it was so incredible. And it really was amazing because I think as we played that weekend, we did feel unbeatable. And it did feel like we'd taken on a whole new level of play, and we were using Colin and Perro on the outside better. We were having Marker and Marty up the middle work even better. And it was just incredible how dynamic and how well the team worked that weekend. So that was such a special one. Vegas in the season where we ended up finishing second was also amazing. I think the year before I was in the commentary booth when the team had won it, and I obviously so happy for the guys, so happy for the team, but there was definitely a part of me that was like, damn, I wish I was out there. Like, can't believe I'm missing out on this. And so to come back, and me and Steve Thomasine both hurt that year, and I remember us saying to each other, we need to do this again. Like we missed out, and we need to make sure that we get those memories too. So to come back and to have the crowd storm the field, and that was amazing. And that whole season was really incredible. I think it was the Olympic qualifying season, and we'd really made a point that, hey, like we don't want to mess around with that game against Canada again. Like, one game of sevens, anything can happen, but we really believe we can be a top 4 team over the course of the series. And we can say that all we want, but now it's time to go out there and show that on a consistent basis, we can be up there with those top teams. And like, we didn't really have Vegas, obviously, but we didn't have like the peaks of winning 5 tournaments like some of the other teams did. But it was really about every tournament we were in that top 5 and top 4, and we hit the semifinal all season. And it was that consistency that had eluded us in the past, that every tournament we were going to be right up there, making semifinals, making finals. And that really was, pretty incredible. So I'd say those are the top moments in the series. But actually one more. And this is a bit more individual, I guess, but the kick in Dubai to beat New Zealand, that was amazing. Like, team had never beaten New Zealand before, and like to have it all come down to one kick from the touchline, that's really like the moments I dreamt of as a kid. Like, you're practicing in the garden, and for me it was like Johnny Wilkinson's drop goal in the World Cup final, but like it was that it all comes down to one moment, and spotlight on me, and to make that, and it was that was a special one. And then to have the whole team rush and go crazy, and it's funny. It was a pool game, but it still ranks up there pretty high.
Oh, it definitely does, Maddie. I mean, I've got goosebumps just you reflecting on it right now, because we all had that in the back of our minds, the cake waiting with in suspense to see what would happen. And that's the thing. And what people don't realize, it's almost like that graphic of the tip of the iceberg. We don't see all the hard work underneath, the ocean, everything you put in. And for me, just as an outsider looking in, and I know broadcasting, it really is truly remarkable to see how our US side has gone from competing well to being amongst the top one or two sides in the world, and as you said, on a consistent basis, and that is truly amazing to be able to achieve that when every team is getting better and better each year. It's just remarkable. So again, you've obviously gone against the best in the world for so long. So which player would you say stands out to you as somebody that it's a challenge to face, and you have a big respect for them?
Well, I mean, so many. I'll focus on halfbacks because I think I could very easily come up with one in each different position, and there are so many fantastic players. I mean, for me, honorable mention, I'll give Tom Mitchell. I think he's a very similar player to myself, but does just everything in the game so well. It's such a linchpin in that England side. But Jerry Tuai is just so special. I mean, it's just like his footwork, and you've got three guys right around him, and he'll just slide forward, backside, and then through the gap. And it's just like, I thought we had him. We all thought we had him, and just how do you defend that sometimes? He is such a special player, and I think it's been really cool to see his development over the years on the series. I think that in attacking talent, the offloading ability was probably there more or less from the time he stepped foot on the World Series. But I mean, he's become one of the best in the world. That he'll come in from sweeper and be down there in a poaching position. And I mean, he's such a low center of gravity, it's impossible to move there. And I think that's been really cool to see his development, that even those guys who are just so naturally talented, and I'm sure he's always had to work really hard at it, but that footwork that he has always had on the World Series, he's taken his game to new levels. And I think that's a real show that no matter how good you are, you can always make yourself better. And I think it's been the difference between making himself a match winner to arguably the best player on the series right now.
Yeah, that's right. Player of the decade, and rightly so. And now to put you on the spot, you've obviously been and played in some remarkable venues, some brilliant cities. Favorite stop on the series?
Well, again, just tough to choose just one. London for the nostalgia is amazing. Hong Kong because it's Hong Kong. The USA is just I loved Vegas. I know it had its critics for different reasons, and I was actually pretty impressed by LA last year, and I'm hoping that as we go forward that can continue to build. But Vegas, that was so special, and I loved it. I'll pick Cape Town though, just because I feel like those are for all obvious reasons that are a bit oh, okay, you're choosing them. But Cape Town it's a really cool city to visit. They do a great job packing the stadium and getting a really cool atmosphere and environment in there. The backroom setup's really great for the players. I think for a lot of different reasons, and getting away from the cliched reasons of the others, for which I love them all. But Cape Town's an amazing tournament, and we all love going there.
Well, that's my hometown, Maddie. So I'm pleased you picked that one. And in many ways, when I came to the US and was visiting San Diego, where you currently are, they said that's kind of quite similar, which it is, beautiful beaches and obviously lovely weather, All right, Mr. Captain, last couple for you. Okay, so Rio Olympic Games in 2016, you captain Team USA. What lessons did you learn in that event and that tournament that you're going to take forward to the next one here in Tokyo?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it for us was, I'm not going to say this was the reason or anything like that, but I think the energy of the event was hard to contain and separate yourself from. I mean, we were eating dinner and the Williams sisters sitting right next to you. We're having training sessions, and then we're hanging out with the USA basketball team, and you're going to the opening ceremony, and there are just so many things taking your attention away. And I think we did a decent job, and we were all very focused and switched on. But I think that kind of back of the head pull away is something that probably did get to us. And I think managing that and being in control of that is something that we're going to have to do a more effective job. And who knows, the new Olympics is tapping all the word that will hopefully be happening. Probably a lot of that will be contained by the fact that there won't be those interactions in the way there have been previously, which is going to be a huge shame, but I think probably will help to stay on track and stay focused and allow it to feel more just like a regular tournament than was possible in Rio.
Yeah, it's important also to have, as you said, bring that experience in from the prior event, particularly you in that leadership role as well, which is great. All right, pal, listen, last one for you. So Free Jacks minority owner Nate Ebner was on that team in 2016 that you played with. He's got a new book coming out as well. We're very eager to promote that and get to read that one. But what was he like as a teammate on the field and off the field as well?
I think Nate was such a great addition to the team. It was fantastic having him involved. And I think one of the things that really impressed me from day one was Nate Ebner was arriving and he was doing a ton of media stuff related to that. But when it came down to his interactions with us, he was a humble guy who was just I'm here to work hard and do everything I can. And I'm not thinking that, okay, just because I'm an NFL guy, I'm going to come in here and take over and from day one just step up. And that is something that I've seen in the past with crossover athletes is they think they're the guy now, and that suddenly that because of their athleticism and their experience in other sports, they're just going to come in and take over. And Nate, and probably because of his rugby background and because of who he is as a person, was just hey, I'm here to work hard and give it everything I've got. And that really impressed me. And then I think over time, once he'd kind of earned that respect, he was able to come in and be okay, these are some of the things I've learned from the Patriots and from hanging out with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the others and stuff that he was then able to help our environment and help us improve the way we do things. And I think it was the way he was just willing to come in, work hard, earn everyone's respect from what he was willing to do and not who he was. And I think that really impressed us. And as you said, I can't wait to read his book. He's just got such a incredible story and a tragic story in many ways, but he's just such an incredible guy. And I think we can all learn a lot from Nate. And really looking forward to reading his book and learning a bit more.
Yeah, Matty, well, I'll say he used that, that tragedy to turn it into a positive event and inspire people. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, because his father played for the USA Maccabea rugby side. And the book is called Finish Strong. And we had that as a wristband, Finish Strong. And it was because of Nate. And when we went to Israel and we played in the 2013 and 2017 games, we had that around our wrists. And it was all about bringing that onto the field and executing everything you can and what's in your realm. And of course, Nate is that leader, that inspiration. So that carried us forward, and that team eventually won gold. And so a fitting story. I can't wait to read that as well. And then Matty, just on a personal note, we want to thank you for everything you do for the country, pal, really leading by example, and you make us proud around the globe. You have that Free Jacks shirt on right now. So we can officially welcome you as a Free Jacks ambassador, you little sleek sensation.
I love it. No, I mean, my parents are founding members of the Free Jacks. Definitely I'll be watching and cheering them on in the MLR, and thanks for the kind words. I mean, I'm so lucky to be able to do what I do, and it's just such an incredible honor to represent the US all over the world. And it's fun being able to interact with different fans on Twitter and see that, hey, we may play at 3 a.m., but there are people who really care about what we're doing, and we love that energy. We feed off that energy, and hopefully we can get back to doing it again soon, because it is incredibly special to be able to do it, and we love representing everyone we do.
Well, before you go, let's get you to say, let's ride.
Let's ride.
Matty Hughes, thank you so much for joining us. Free Jacks Live, you bloody legend. We look forward to seeing you soon. Go and get that gold for us, my friend.
Thanks, Dallen. We'll do our best.